So what's the process then? What is the process once you recognize I can really see these patterns of either over trusting individuals and then being taken advantage of, or I guess also under trusting? I think sometimes the example of under trusting where you so trust yourself is harder to recognize. Like it's just that the world is incompetent. The world is incompetent. And I actually trust myself a lot. I don't have trust issues because I know, I listen, I do research. And so sometimes that end is a really harder one to recognize, isn't it? When you believe in yourself so much that you don't trust the world and you think your expertise is it. And so you're kind of a closed system, but you feel like for a good reason. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think you're describing paranoia.
Well, on some level, let's do talk about paranoia. But I think I'm also sometimes just talking about narcissism too. So which, can have flavors of the same thing in a way. But yeah, I think paranoia or somewhere where you seem to overtrust yourself and undertrust the environment.
I'll say three things. So
Okay.
first, Fonagy talks about the importance of psychotherapy and sort of healing these kinds of things. And there's this wonderful thing that he talks about, the three virtuous cycles, which I really love. He says, so first, the client comes in, they don't really trust you, they're there, and your job is to mentalize them, hold them in mind, show them that you have their best interests in mind, and also you can set boundaries. And this is the process through which they begin to see you as a differential source and take in and modify their working models. And he says, so the first process is the client learning that you're a trustworthy person and they can begin to trust you. And they'll test you in all kinds of ways, and then you pass that. Then he says there's a second virtuous process where this begins to restore their capacity because they've had an experience. Again, their early attachment figures weren't trustworthy. They had to trust untrustworthy people. They begin to have an experience of what it's like to be in deep relationship with a truly trustworthy person. And this begins to heal their own capacity for epistemic trust and knowing what cues to pay attention to. The trust meter begins to be calibrated. And during this phase of the therapy, they might even start using you, like they'll come in and say, so I wanted to tell you about this new guy I just started dating, and I'm not really sure whether he's a good guy or not. Can I tell you a bunch of things? And the therapist listens very carefully and says, that one would make me be on alert too. And they go, oh, okay, I wasn't sure whether that was right or not. And you go,
Right,
yeah,
right.
no, I would be a little skeptical. I mean, I'm not saying you should just never see him again, but that's one to keep in mind. So they start recalibrating their capacity for epistemic trust and mistrust, both through their experience and then by using you as a consultant to know when to trust and distrust. Then Fonagy says, after that healing process takes place, the most important place of psychotherapy is the client leaves your office with this new capacity to be able to tell when to trust and distrust and who to take in information from. And then they begin to interact in the social world and exercise this. And then they can ongoingly continue to update their working models in different environments, meet new people, go to a new job, be able to figure this out. And he says, this is like the most important healing process takes place after the therapy is done.